Well, it's apparently you can see the snow falling outside the cab of the tractor in the light. It's the winter that won't end. April 8th, and we're having a massive snow squall that's going to last all night and then turn into rain after it getting down to the teens tonight. I was tied up trying to make a presentation on climate change. So I've been working away all day because I have a couple-day deadline to try and get together a climate change and mitigation presentation for some work that I did here on the farm. And anyway, I got tied up doing that and totally spaced on feeding the cows their next bale. Fortunately, I had enough food in the ring. I wasn't worried about that, but I did want to do this in the daylight and before it started snowing, because now it's dang snowy. Anyway, fortunately, this tractor has some really nice lights on it. There are a couple of non-halogen lights on the tractor I'd like to change out sooner than later, because it could be that much brighter. As bright as this is, it's great. It's much too high a gear to be doing what I'm doing. Yeah, I was really hoping to get this going before the snow. We got Allison's already started milking, and I'm gonna have my act together. She's going away to a business conference in New York City this week and a weekend. Friday, she's going Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, so I'll be here looking after the farm and milking the cows. Yeah, this is a lot snowier than I thought it was going to be. They did say we're going to get up to 2 inches, and some parts of the state are going to get as much as 6 or 8. But I thought we would get about 2 here, and that will be falling about 1 inch an hour. That's Molly. She's new here. Rescue pup. Sharp as a tack. Yeah, what the hell? Winter's back. It's April 9th. The killdeer, the woodcock, they ain't loving this. I ain't loving this. Yeah, 3 inches overnight. Strong winds. And it's going to get warm today and then plunge down. This should mostly melt, and then it's going to plunge down and become ice tomorrow. So I'm out here before coffee. Molly is still on a leash here. She's nicely trained. She came to us trained as a rescue. So she has a few issues, but the thing is, herding dogs are misunderstood. They nip sometimes, and especially if a puppy isn't trained when and how to nip, then they nip. People can misread that. So it's got me 3 times the ankles. All right, ladies. I want to play, and I haven't had my coffee yet, so I'm going in. All right. Well, it's warming up and the sun is out, so maybe the snow isn't such a bad thing. It'll go away. It's already starting to melt on the driveway. And it's not that I don't like snow. It's not that I don't like winter. It's just that this winter has been irredeemably hard. And the weather, when I need grass to be growing in the field, is playing against me, and we're running out of silage. really need to be able to get the cows out as soon as possible, rather than in the end of May. It needs to be the first part of May, or we'll be buying a lot of feed. So that's partly my weather consternation. It's beautiful, and a day like this, it's fun to be outside. Not that I get to do that today, but it's also awfully hard on the cows and the heifers. This up and down temperatures. Hot one day, cold the next day. They can't shed their coat. I don't want to trim them to help them for the warm days, but then, and then have to have them be wet and cold and shivering because, step over the fence. I get wet and cold and shivering because we're plunging down. Even tonight, it's going to be well below freezing tonight and in the 40s tomorrow. And next week, it should be a lot warmer, so hopefully we can trim up the cows, the heifers. Well, it's gone 5:30, walking the dogs. I'm just back from the vets. I had to run out to the vets to pick up some mastitis treatment because during milking this morning, we identified that Luna had a very swollen quarter and is running a fever, which I've never had a cow run a fever. So that's a bit concerning. It's on the high side. So we consulted with the vet, and he said, how about coming and getting some treatment? He gave us a course of treatment that we'll follow for the next 3 days. We've given her some aspirin to help bring the fever down. So I got to go check on her in a minute. And anyway, I've been gone all day. So, well, I've been gone for several hours because the vet isn't close by. It's an hour plus there and back and stops in between. So not conducive to getting a lot of farming done. At least we didn't have to pay for a farm visit for the vet just for medicine. Anyway, walking the dogs. New puppy's settling in nicely, but she still has to be on the leash. All right, come on, pups.
What you doing here, Mommy?
We only have 5 sucker buckets. Io gets a bottle. She thinks she should be on a sucker bucket.
Isn't that so, little kid? Hot. Yeah, you're just a little baby, aren't you? Just a little kid.
I'm down here doing my second grass walk of the spring. And a little bit showing growth, not tremendous, not going to turn the cows out next week at all. But I'm also surveying what I need to do. I was hoping to get rid of and burn some of these brush piles, or at least condense them. But with the skid steer pretty much stuck up in the barnyard for moving manure and stuff around, and the weather hasn't been super nice for coming down here. It's been a bit wet. It's starting to dry out a bit down here now, so I think I had to come in here and remove some of this wood that's fallen, trees, and there's several root balls back there that I abandoned last spring when I was working down here. So I'll come back soon, I hope, and pick away at these things because it's imperative that I'm just gonna grass walk here. It's imperative that I condense some of these piles and get grass growing where they are, because it will just make my management of the area and moving the cows around easier if these piles aren't here. Yes, I left them as habitat. Yes, I wanted them to rot down a bit, but they've been here for 5 years. So there's a lot of firewood down here. I need to come find time, at least get off the ground so that grazing can happen here in May. And once the grass is growing, I really don't like coming in here and damaging it because, again, we have just enough ground. Now, hopefully, if I can get the area over there planted and beyond, then I have some breathing room. But we have just enough ground to graze all our animals. If the grass grows at a normal rate, moving them across the farm 5 times throughout the summer. If I take away any of that, or there's drought, or it's too wet to put them somewhere, then I've got to start feeding them silage. Then if I've damaged the grass in any way with equipment and there's that much less to feed them, then I have to make that up with paid feed. So definitely, it's actually usually wet right through here. It's really dry right now. So I want to get this firewood up out of here, clean these logs and branches out of the way, make it easier for the cows to walk through here, and just give them that much more grazing. This area here is historically quite wet. And as wet as it is, I mean, I wouldn't want to bring the tractor down here, but the skid steer weighs about the same, but because of not the skid steer weighs less, and it would actually be fine down here, but the excavator weighs about the same as the tractor, but because of the tracks, it has a lower ground pressure. So it distributes its weight better, and I won't tear this up. Now, this is marginal grazing through here anyway, because it's a lot of bromes and sedges and bulrushes that the cows don't really eat. So this does need improved, but I get these piles taken care of, at least condensed into one big one or something. If I can get that going this spring in a week or so, then it'll just be that much easier to move the cows through here. Anyway, I'm taking an hour today to walk the farm again, see what needs to be done, make a plan for firewood and brush, and probably I'm going to, it's too cold right now. I mean, I could get away with seeding some clover or something like that, but really I need to make a plan to seed down probably first week of May some of these bald areas, and if I work over there on the other side, do the same, condense the piles. Over there, there's a lot more stone that I want to group together and get out of there. So this side is our property line. There's a stone wall there that's hardly noticeable anymore. I do need to put a permanent fence up too, or at least a start of one. Certainly even if it was just a single strand hot wire fence, because permanent would be better than the temporary one I have set right now. Anyway, I got to get that done, and it's a little too wet to get the tractor down here, and I don't have a skid steer mounted auger to set the fence post, so that's gonna have to wait until we're a lot drier down here. All right, I'm just almost done with the grass measuring for this round. I'll get on to the next thing. Well, I'm back from the grass walk up in the barnyard. One of the prime reasons I went on the grass walk today, I didn't measure it last week. I measured it the first day of April. This time of year, only need to go every couple weeks. So it wouldn't have mattered if I'd gone today. It's Thursday this week, Friday. So I won't go on Monday. Probably give it a week. It's been cold and wet and damp and below freezing at night. So anything, any grass growth out there is going to be slow. But another week or so, it should kick off, and then it'll be more important to measure every week. That helps me determine where to put the cows first, the rotation. You know, some fields grow faster at different times of year than others. And certainly the big field is easier to apply nutrients to. So I walked the cemetery field, we call it, the big field, and there are the 2 historically wet spots in it. But I think the rest of the field is dry enough, and I have 5 bags of urea, 250 pounds. For every 100 pounds of weight, only 43 pounds of nitrogen get put out. Now, that field is roughly 5 acres. I could put a bag an acre, so 50 pounds per acre, giving me 23 pounds of nitrogen per acre, roughly. Or what I'm more inclined to do is just take half the field and give it the full dosage, 43 pounds to the acre. Do the half field and hope that we will get more urea and can afford to get the 4 tons I need. But at least that gives me half the field growth so that I can get the cows. The rest of the field will match, but just to get half of the field, lifting it up out of the ground and get some growth on it. I'd love to be spreading manure. My manure spreader's broken. It's frozen still from being in the shade and dark, full of, the manure spreaders never break when it's convenient or when they're empty. They only break when they're full. So it was, I don't know why I was too much to do at the end of the summer. So I just left it. Now, and we had a cold, freezing winter. So now I've got to wait for that to finish thawing out, take out that manure, see if that manure spreader could be fixed. Or I've got to find someone I can borrow from, put it out on Facebook. Nobody's offered me anything concrete to borrow yet. I'd be spreading manure right now. But again, the field's a little bit too wet. It's one thing to take the tractor out with the cone spreader, but by spreading with the cone spreader, it spreads about 16 feet. So I don't have to drive everywhere on the field. I only have to drive every 16 feet. So that reduces the compaction, reduces the number of trips across the field. So that'll be good to get something on the ground, get it growing. At least half the field can grow quickly now so that we get the cows out as soon as we can in May. Because we need nitrogen uptakes in grass at about 20... some kind of light here on the ground, broken. Nitrogen uptakes in grass at about 2 pounds a day. So if I put 44 whatever pounds out there, 22 days of growth before I can graze the cows on it. So at least minimum. So different grass, but that's the average. So I want to do it as early as I can. I want to get it out now. And certainly if I do half the field, then I get some more urea. I can put it even a couple weeks later. It's still going to be out there and consumed by the grass by the time the cows get to it. So that's this is my plan. It's supposed to rain. It's gray today, which is another good reason to put urea out. It won't burn off, cook off, and vaporize in the sun, and it's damp. We had a little light sprinkle this morning. Nothing too bad. Nothing to really wet anything. Just get things damp. A little bit on the driveway. It's not dry anymore. It's supposed to rain tomorrow. Maybe snow tonight, but rain tomorrow to wash that urea in. And the ground seems open and porous. Grass is starting to grow, so I'm not worried about any runoff. We're after the 1st of April, which is when we have a prohibition in Maine from December to April. You can't spread manure without a dispensation. So I'm not spreading manure, I'm spreading fertilizer. It'll soak in, it'll be fine. So we're gonna go do this. Now, I'm not a fan of chemical fertilizers by any means. And trust me, last year when I decided that I needed to start spreading urea, it wasn't an easy choice. I have railed against chemical fertilizers for a long time. I gotta open a gate. But we still rely on manure for the majority of our input, at least here on the home farm. But we just don't produce enough nitrogen. All right, so I'm watching for tracks. So far, so good. I'm gonna go low and not drive across the entire field. I'm just gonna go the area that the cows use as a lane. That way, if it gets too much destroyed, it's not horrific. I'm leaving imprints, but not tracks, if you know what I mean. Not making mud anyway, which was my primary concern. So yeah, we get soil tests. We take 2 different soil tests at the moment. One for our carbon sequestration study, and gives us an in-depth profile of the soil structure and a lot of its mineral components and micronutrients. And then we do a traditional soil test, agricultural, that gives us recommendations for growing the crop we grow, which is grass, silage, or grazing. And a little bit of tracking there. Anyway, so we know what the soil needs. We know how much lime it requires, and the components of potassium and potash, and that is potassium. We know all of the requirements for the soil. And so, oops, I took it out of gear. I shouldn't have. I'm gonna go here, and we're just gonna drive across this wet spot as fast as possible, and I should be able to come out uphill. I'll have to turn on the GPS and do an AB line. It's a little soft here, but this is a wetter corner of the field because we're downhill. It doesn't look, I'm not sinking in, it doesn't look like I'm making mud, so hopefully I won't get stuck. I would hate to ruin the grazing in this field, all for want of putting out a little fertilizer in what are otherwise the right conditions. Yeah, so nitrogen I'm fine with putting out. We're only putting out enough to really kick things off. We're not taking the NPK, we're not doing the P and the K. There's plenty of that in this soil, and I put on the minimum of urea because there's manure that gets put on here. I have manure to spread, the cows drop manure, there's clover in here that fixes and releases nitrogen every time it's grazed. So I'm not too worried. I just need to get the recommendations, I think, from last fall's soil test, where we need about 120 pounds of urea in this nitrogen in this field. So that's and to break it up. Now I've seen some studies applying it all at once, or breaking it out into even units across the summer, or putting it out like half of it at once and then a quarter and a quarter later on. So I'm gonna go, I need 120 pounds total for I think per grazing. I gotta double check that. Anyway, if anybody knows, put in the comments. So I've gotta put it, anyway, if it's 120 pounds for the summer, then we're putting 43 of that out now, 44. And then we'll count on the remainder being made up, maybe a couple smaller applications as well, and that's per acre. So it's not just right, that's 120 pounds per acre, so 5 acres, do the math. Anyway, so a little bit of artificial urea, but also making up for the rest of the nutrients and the nitrogen with manure and growing the right things. We have a pretty good storehouse in the soil of all the nutrients that the grass needs to grow. Now we're getting the pH brought down. I limed this field. I'm gonna do some liming in some of the other fields. The hay and silage fields are pretty much spot on as far as the right pH. So I didn't have to do anything this year. They probably will need something going forward. But anyway, I did want to spread some wood ash, because that also contains a little bit of potash, basically, potassium, on the hay fields next door, Farnsworth, but I haven't orchestrated that yet. I've got to get, I think I have to buy or have 15 or 20 ton delivered, and then I have to find a way of spreading that. So that's where that's at. All right, I am going to go ahead and get spreading. Well, I'm almost done. Just a couple pounds left in there, and I'm at the gate. So that worked out differently than I thought. I used the GPS, used the paint feature so I could see where I was covering. Insert that here. And I managed to make it all the way across the field. I guess I had it set too conservative. And so I've put the 23 pounds of nitrogen on per acre. So I guess I've just tickled the ground everywhere across the entire field. Because by the time I was done, here I am. That's okay. That means everything gets something. It looks like it's well covered. You can see well, first off, you can see the tracks of the tractor. Not bad. Didn't sink in horrendously. I did tear up a bit of ground down there when I was coming through and made my turn. And this area that is historically really wet here, which I need to add a drain to, again, not horrendous. My little tractor made worse ruts than this, and I think it's the size of the tires on this big tractor. Better flotation. Now, where it was wetter over here, a little bit softer, a little bit deeper in, but again, not anywhere near. You can see this rut right here was from similar weather. It's twice as deep as that. Similar weather with my little tractor. So I guess, part of it is that tractor doesn't have wheel weights or weighted wheels. So it is a little bit lighter than it could be. But I'm happy I didn't mark up the field badly at all. So that's good. And there does seem to be a pretty even coating of nitrogen pellets everywhere across. So yeah, I think with painting the field, you see more tracks. Yeah, it's not bad. A little bit of a turn out there, a little bit softer there. But the good news is these tracks are only every 20 feet or whatever. Whatever it was painting it at. I chose the primitive GPS app. I don't really know how accurate it is, and I don't know how accurate the spread on the spreader is. So it's all guesswork. Yeah, I like the coding. I like seeing what I'm seeing here on the ground. Primitive GPS, I'd much rather have a better, more accurate spreader. It's one thing to play around here at the home farm in a 5-acre field, but when I've got, another 75 acres to mess with of other people's property where I really don't want to be spreading and really don't want to be spreading too much and wasting, then yeah, I've got to find a more accurate way of dosing out things. I'm just gonna back up the hill. I did put my differential, I'm in 4-wheel drive, but I did put the differential lock on in that wettest part. Like I said, I do need to tear that up and drain it. I just insert here, got a nice drainage map of the field. I had no idea that these water course hydrology reports were available for a farm like ours. So compacting the ground a little bit here. I'm gonna go ahead and respread as I come down. Just gonna go. I just want to use up the urea that's in the spreader. So I'm just gonna come down here slow, at risk of compacting this area a little bit more. But it'll also get an extra coating of urea and it'll grow better. So who knows what the difference is. It is a little bit wetter here. I'm sinking in and marking the ground a little bit more than I really want to do. But if it gets rid of that last couple pounds of urea without wasting it anywhere else or spilling it on the road, I guess I'm fine with that. So yeah, that hydrology map. All right, there we go. Now it's empty. hear it stop rattling from the urea in the can. I'm gonna put this gate back up. The hydrology report, drainage, is really cool because it definitely shows what I experience here and confirms some ideas about where to put drainage. And coming from that low area right there, that wet spot, coming down to this corner and tapping into a drain that I have that drains out across the road is definitely the way to go. It's just gonna take doing, and it's just gonna take some money for some drainage tile and drain stone. Spring, Spring, You Nasty Thing was a poem written by a young girl in a small rural school back in the 40s. Don't remember exactly when, don't remember her name. But spring, spring, you nasty thing. Yeah, today. Remember yesterday I was out there spreading fertilizer in that field? And we got this today, it's gonna melt. Got a couple of warm days and then we get this again at the end of the week. It's the middle of April. Puppy, still walking Molly. Our frost out date here is usually around May 18th. Historically, we haven't had a frost date that late in years. Normally, I would say we've had things in the ground at Easter time, late April. This year, I think it's going to be every bit of May 18th before we can see anything like that happen. Got heifers in heat bawling behind me. Why the dogs always decide to go right in the flowers? Traditionally, frost out May 18th. People around here tend to plant their gardens. For a long time, it was gardens in on Memorial Day, gardens out on Labor Day. That was sort of the growing season, but that's been, leave it. Puppies will eat anything. So yeah, that's hasn't been that way for a long time. I grow stuff right up through Thanksgiving quite often. Not happy about the endless cycle of snow. Well, that's bedding moved and bale fed out. I gotta close those gates and I left the skid steer running down there so I can, once the cows are out of the barn, I can move that bale in there. I gotta unwrap that bale as well.